lot of our clients are single parents. So to see a single parent who has struggled for the past 10, 15 years
Yeah.
and be able to finally say, hey, I have $100,000 in my account and I know what to do with it. And seeing them execute, like Lyndsay, that's it brings me to tears every
I
single
love
time
that. I
because
love
I'm like, wow, you just broke a sequence in your generations that you just achieved something that no one else has been able to achieve.
Three things you are going to learn from this episode. Number one, how to access funding without draining your savings or giving up equity. Number two, why most entrepreneurs have a strategy problem, not a money problem. And number three, the mindset shift that separates side hustlers from scalable CEOs. Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. My guest today slid into my DMs on Instagram, bold, confident, and crystal clear that what she had to share about money would hit home with this audience. And after just one conversation, I knew she was absolutely right. So, what do you get when you combine 20 years in finance, sales, and marketing, two heaping scoops of swagger, a keynote speaker who commands every room she enters, a mentor to more than 4,000 entrepreneurs, and a woman who flat out refuses to let access to capital be the reason your business doesn't scale? You get Mo, the closer Allen, a fire starter, a disruptor, and the powerhouse founder and CEO of UpStatus Logistics. Mo, welcome to the show.
Hey, hey,
How
woo,
are you,
this
girl?
intro, you were right.
Yeah, that was a good
Lindsay.
one. That was really good. So I start every show the same way, and my first question is always, can you share a little bit of your story?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I'm from Durham, North Carolina. So I'm a country girl, right? And one of the things that I loved when I was growing up is watching my parents and their ability to just create money from somewhere, right? We don't know how our parents do it when we're younger, right? We
Right.
just know that we get what we need and that's it, right? So growing up, it was very important for me to figure out how the world worked. And everyone said, hey, you know what? You should go to college. So went to college, couple weeks. My business teacher said, hey, let's talk about business. And we're talking about the different acumens in business. And I say, well, what's your business? Not being funny, but I just
Good.
wanted to
You
know
meant
what
it.
their business was, right?
Sure.
And he said, I don't have a business. And right then, Lyndsay, I was like, oh, hell no, no, I can't do this. Not.
Uh-uh.
So I'm on a basketball scholarship. I just gotten hurt. I hurt my knee and I checked out of that. I was like, nope, none of this. I looked up the quickest way. This was 20 plus years ago at this point. So I looked up the quickest way to make $50,000. They said go into sales. And it's been sales and marketing since then.
Yeah.
But it's been a great ride. But here we are.
So talk a little bit about your business and who you work with and what attracted you to that space. Because there's a lot of financial advisors out there. There's a lot of very buttoned up philosophies around it. I love your irreverent approach. So talk a little bit about who you help and why you do it the way you do.
Sure, sure. So you're right. There are a ton of financial advisors and not dumping on the financial advisors, but
No,
most people don't know what to do with them, right? And that's great if you have someone to advise you of your finances. But how the hell do you get finances, right? How do you get money? Right. And we focus on helping entrepreneurs like build those dreams based around other people's money, not their own because it's so hard to get capital if you're trying to save it. It's so hard to start a business if you're working for your 9 to 5, you're barely making ends meet as it is,
yeah,
but trying to save $10,000, like imagine trying to save $10,000 in this economy
yeah.
without any type of strategy around it. So we base our business more around wealth strategy than any type of financial advising. So the main client that we help is real estate investors. We help other small businesses as well, but we mainly help real estate investors get access to capital, and we focus on getting the capital first before you find the deal.
Mm,
So, and that's with any business venture. Like it's all great. You've got all these grandiose plans and you've got plans bigger than the moon, but where's the money? So we structure their personal finance, and then we get them in a position where the bank sees them as a lendable business, even if they've never had one single dollar come into their account before.
That's really impressive. So the first question I'm going to ask you though is if you have no money and you don't have a proven track record, but you want to start a business, how do you get capital? How do you get people to invest in you?
So the first thing is just making sure that you have good personal credit. And when I say good personal credit, I'm not talking about where everyone says you have 750 credit score. Well,
Sure.
you can build a 750 credit score off of authorized user accounts. And those are accounts that, let's say, I came to you and I said, hey, Lyndsay, add me on to your Capital One card. Well, I could piggyback off of your good payment history,
Hmm.
but the banks don't recognize that anymore.
Mm-mm.
They recognize it for history, but they don't recognize it as you building that actual account. So what we do is if you have great personal credit, we structure you with at least a 680. We make sure that you have at least two cards that report to you of $2,500 or more. We make sure that your business is structured correctly, and we make sure that any type of debts that you have, they're not negative and they're reporting correctly for you. So after all of that, we can take a brand new LLC, go into most banks who deal with business vendors and say, hey, we need access to capital. Based off of your personal credit, which is called a personal guarantee, you're eligible for generally anywhere from $50 to $150,000 without having to see a single amount of revenue in your business yet, just based off of the fact that you have good personal credit.
That's amazing. I don't think a lot of people understand that.
That's right.
And I think a lot of businesses fail because they don't have the capital to get started. You can't hire people if you have no money. I mean, you can, but it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And it's really important that people understand that, first of all, starting a business is expensive.
Oh,
It just
God.
is. I mean, you have your technology costs, you have your overhead. If you have employees, I mean, all of
And you
those
still
people
have to
need to
live.
be, yeah, and you have to live.
Yeah.
And I think when I see businesses fail, it's mostly out of that scarcity mindset. It's the, okay, I tried to make it work and I didn't have enough money coming in, mostly because the basics aren't covered. And
That's
so
right.
every dime that you would be bringing in goes to that, and you're not seeing profit. Is that what you're seeing?
That's exactly what I'm saying because most business owners don't know that they have access to capital. And
Yeah.
it's because we weren't taught to borrow our way to wealth.
No,
But when
borrow's a
you,
bad word. It means
it
I owe
is a
you.
bad word.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, think about how this country was built. Think about how this country is being ran now
Mhm.
with, we're not even going to talk about the
No.
trillions of dollars of debt. Like, I just made some videos about that and I'm like, this is just, it's some bullshit. But okay, cool. But, just think about the country is built on debt. And I'm not saying that go into debt for just like mindless stuff, like you want to go in on vacation or whatever.
Right,
But
right.
what I am saying is that banks are allowing clients to borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars at a 0% interest rate because they have good personal credit. So think about the concept of if you're transitioning, most entrepreneurs are transitioning from some full-time position.
Yep.
So you're transitioning from your 9 to 5 position. You don't really have time to focus on everything in your business.
Mm-mm.
So therefore, one of the first things you need to figure out how to do is get you some type of assistant, right? Get you someone to do something, to leverage some AI, leverage another person, but all of that takes money. But if you have a good personal profile, what you can do is go into the bank and say, hey, I need $100,000. Well, that's at 0% interest.
Mm.
So as long as you're able to make those minimum payments, which on $100,000, your minimum payment is less than $1,500 per month.
Yeah.
So off of that, 18 months you've got to make this shit work.
Right.
And if you haven't figured out how to make it work in 18 months, then there's probably some other problems going on there.
No, but
But
that's a good timeline too, because I
that's a
think
great timeline.
a lot of entrepreneurs don't know when to stop, like if it's not being successful, and they don't know that they need to hang in there.
That's
Um,
right.
so, you can go 6 months, and if you're starting a new business, it takes a minute.
It
It
does.
takes 9 months, 12 months to really get things moving.
That's right.
And you have to have the capital to be able to be patient. Unless you are really lucky and you've gone viral for some reason,
That's right.
it's gonna take time.
It is. It is. And it's going to take other people aiding you in your skills. So, one of the things that we encourage our clients to do is once we get you funding, you need a mentor
Yeah.
because this whole thing isn't just for you to figure out.
Mm.
And we don't have, if we've got 18 months for this money to be interest free, we don't have time for you to sit around, twiddle your thumbs, and throw stuff against the wall to see if it works,
Yeah.
right? We need someone who's seasoned, who's vetted in whatever your area of expertise is, who's going to be able to take you from 0 to 100
I
and
think
be able to
that's
do it exceptionally fast.
Well, that's so important. And I think whether you have a mentor like you're describing, or a coach, or a personal board of advisors, you need those people in your corner who are going to call you on your shit, who are
Hmm.
going to say, hey, I've been there, I've done that. Don't do it this way because I got burned.
Right.
Or I have someone else I need to introduce you to because they figured out exactly what you're trying to do.
That's right.
And never go it alone. I say this about job seekers all the time, don't go it alone. But even if you are in a corporate environment and you want to create your side hustle, I promise you, your corporate skills may be brilliant. Mine were. And then
Hmm.
I'm like, I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. I've done all these first of a kind businesses for a big corporation. True,
Yeah.
totally different skill set.
Yeah.
And it took
Yeah.
me a while to figure out I do not know everything, and I really needed some help. So let's talk a little bit about strategy
Okay.
because we talked about that at the top, that it's a
Hmm.
strategy problem. So what do you advise from the start? I mean, you gave us some good initial tips.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. First thing is know exactly how much money you need. And if you don't know exactly, you should have a roundabout number, right? Because if you're needing to fund a $100,000 project, but you go into the bank and you say, hey, I need $50,000, then you're still going to have the same problem
Right.
that you had before, right? So just knowing about how much money that you're going to need,
Mm,
knowing what that end goal is, but also knowing when to pull yourself out of the deal,
mm,
right? And when I say pull yourself out of the deal, I don't mean like we're not going to do this business anymore. I mean find other things and people to replace you in it so that you can focus more on the operations. Operations meaning like you need money for this. Where is all this money going? How are you keeping track of everything? So before you even go into like business funding, make sure you're tracking every single dollar
mm,
that you're spending.
mm.
Make sure you're writing everything down. Like there's times where sometimes I don't spend money because I know I have to track it,
Yep.
right? So just making sure you have a plan for that. But when you get down to the nitty of having actual business funding, then you say, what does this scaling look like?
Yeah.
Right.
I think having a bookkeeper is probably pretty critical as well. And this is where a lot of small businesses fall down. They're like, "Ah, I don't need a bookkeeper. I can keep track." And then before you know it, you've lost track of your receipts and it's tax time and you're in trouble. So,
Absolutely. I've
yeah.
been down that road before. So
Yeah, you if you're not following Mo the Closer, she's on all the socials. We'll post those in the show
yes.
notes and in the show here. But she gives a lot of tips. You want to talk a couple of tax tips while we're here?
Absolutely. So, as far as tax tips, the biggest one, we don't deal directly with taxes, but we do deal with making sure that you're prepared
Yes.
for your taxes, keeping accurate documentation, making sure that you're writing every single thing down. As far as like with a lot of our clients or real estate investors, making sure that you know your tax laws in your state and federal.
Mm,
There's a huge bill that was just passed. It's called One Big Beautiful Act. And if you haven't taken a read of that, make sure you take a read of that. And even if that bill doesn't get passed, it's going to change the trajectory of how money is exchanged.
mm,
And even like I said, even if it doesn't pass, it shows us exactly where the money is going. So money is being pulled from federal down into privatized money. So this means that as a taxpayer, you are more likely to have better benefits if you operate as a business than as a person who just says,
mm,
hey, I have a social security number. So your greatest tax benefits are going to come from having an LLC.
mm.
What is a LLC? This is pulling you away from your business.
Yeah.
This is what protects you. So if something happens to your business, then you're not totally liable for that. So
Mhm.
the biggest tip that I can provide to viewers now is make sure you're operating under a business. Like no matter the capacity of it, you should have a business
Mm.
because that's where the big tax write-offs are. If you're buying a home, figure out how to purchase it under a business. If you're buying any type of investment, get your social security number off of it because they're going to tax you up the wall for it. And the
Mm.
higher that income, the higher you're going to pay in taxes. And you have to figure out ways to supplement so that you're not paying a gazillion dollars back in taxes and shit. So,
That's really interesting. I know you did a post on this week about taxes and LLCs specifically, and I didn't dawn on me that that's a way that I should be making those kinds of purchases. I mean, I have
mhm,
an LLC, but I use it strictly for my business.
mhm.
So thinking about how else I can apply that, my husband has one too. Yeah, that's wild. So yeah, you're full of tax tips. So oh, anything you want to add?
Oh yeah, just make sure you're keeping track of stuff. Just like because you'll be surprised what's tax deductible.
Oh yeah.
Even down to if I always compliment you on this beautiful wallpaper, like even down to this decorating of the room. Every
Yeah.
single thing in this room has some type of tax deduction that you can apply,
Yeah.
right? So when we're doing these elaborate setups, when we're doing these, when you're say, hey, you know what, I'm presenting, I need my hair, I need nails, makeup, like all of that there's
I
some tax deductions there.
I tried to get my hair under tax deduction and they didn't go for it. I also tried Botox. They didn't go for that either. But I'll keep trying.
That's right. That's right. Somebody's gonna tell you yes. So,
So, okay, so let's talk a little bit about mindset and
okay.
what separates the hustlers from the
Ooh,
people that are struggling and the people that are thriving.
yeah.
You talk about this a lot. We talk about mindset on the show all the time. So I love that you talk about this. So hit me. What do you got?
So, first of all, there's no scarcity. Like, there's no shortage of money. Don't let anybody tell you that we're running out of money. We are not running out of money. As a matter of fact, this is the prime time now to be making money. It's a boat ton of it. As a matter of fact, like, if you're not making money in during this time, then you really haven't tapped into what the economy has to offer.
Mm,
So, where we're at a point where there are a group of folk who are going to complain about everything that's going on. And then there's another group of folk who are going to make a shit ton of money because they see the complaints of everyone else
sure.
and they've went in on those complaints.
Mm,
So I forget which entrepreneur says when everyone else is fearful, you go all in. When everyone else is go all in, you be fearful. So
mm,
right now, everyone is fearful. So this is your time to go all in. And the mindset shift in that comes from there isn't enough for me, right? But once we shift that to the world is abundant, we don't ever have to worry about running out of resources.
yeah.
We don't ever have to worry about creating money because, for one, you can start an LLC every single day of the year. One every single day of the year, right? So you can literally start 365 LLCs per year. So there's no shortage of how many businesses you can start, right? There's no shortages of how creative you are. Someone goes to you for something. So the moment that you decide that you're going to tap into that and start charging folks for it and
Mhm.
stop giving away your time for free,
Mm,
then that's when we get to say, oh, okay, well, this makes a difference. But so many people are living in a scarcity mindset where
yeah.
they don't think that people will pay them for their time. So they accept nothing.
I see that a lot. And I also think beyond the believing that there's enough money for everyone, there's also the self-worth piece and believing that you have value, you have a service, you have something to add. And you know what your friends are coming to you for, or other parents in your world, or business colleagues. Like if you know something and if you are really good at it, like I know how to set up a podcast. I know how to tell you
Right.
all the great things, but I give that away for free all the time. I got to stop doing that. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love to help my friends and I love to help people that want to start
Yeah.
shows, but that is something I could charge for. So, what are some of the things that you're seeing people gravitate to really capitalize on this economy?
A lot of it is technology.
Hmm.
They're learning how to actually use their phone. So a mentor told me about 15 years ago that if you have a smartphone and it's not making you money, it's a dumb phone.
Oh,
So,
love that.
and
Okay.
it's because your phone is a tool.
Hmm.
So we don't use the things that we already pay for
Sure.
as tools, right? So one of the things that I'm seeing that there's a shortage of monetization of is actual talent and effort. If you want to if you want to reduce the amount of people on the schedule, start charging people for shit,
Mm,
right? If you want to make more money and reduce the amount of how busy you are, start charging people for shit
yeah.
and see how many people don't call you.
You're spot on. And as a longtime salesperson, if you don't ask, you're not going to make the money. So
Not
you
gonna make
just got
money.
to ask. And it's amazing how many people view what you do or what you know is valuable. So
That's
shame
right.
on you if you're not asking. Get yourself out of your comfort zone. I had a coach once say to me when I asked him, "How much should I charge for this service?" He said, "It's the biggest number you can comfortably get out of your mouth." And I was like, okay then. And
Yeah.
so, that's a scary moment, especially in the
Yeah.
services world. Like, am I doing something too big? Am I charging too much? But I've learned from booking big keynotes, say the bigger number. Say
That's
where you
right.
want to
That's right.
finish. You're going to
That's right.
negotiate, so don't start small because then you have to negotiate down.
That's right.
But yeah, don't be afraid of putting it out there.
That's right. And then if they say yes too quick, the next time you pitch that, go bigger. I
Mhm.
remember a few years ago when we first started doing credit repair, and it was like, how much do you charge to do credit repair? And we were like $500. So everybody was paying it.
Yeah,
And I'm like, well, wait
too
a minute.
cheap.
If wait a minute, everybody's paying it. Hold on for a second. So then we said $1,000, and we got some like, but
But
people
I
were
need
paying it.
it.
But I need credit repair. So now we're up to like $2,500, and they're like, okay. So my business partner and I, we had a meeting the other day, and we were like, we need to go up on prices again
Mhm.
because people aren't sweating.
Mhm.
So, and your price should make people sweat.
Yeah.
Your price, like at the very beginning of whatever type of presentation that you're giving all of this value. And at the end, when you're dropping, it's only, this service is only $3,000.
Yeah.
And they're like, only $3,000 and I get all of this. It's just positioning yourself, right? Positioning yourself in the middle of the value and being of service to whatever client base you have. But if you're not charging your clients and you're not charging them what you're worth, you're doing them a disservice.
Hmm.
Because I can promise you, the clients who I've given discounts to are a pain in my ass. But the clients,
That's so true. That's so
my
true.
God.
It's so true. And
But the
you
clients
you
we charge
know,
more for, we never hear from them.
when they start asking for discounts right out the gate, it's going to be painful. So
Yes.
yeah, you always know. It's true.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, so
Don't break your payments and don't break your processes. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. So guys, set up an LLC. Figure out what is your sweet spot, what is your zone of genius outside of your job that you can start hustling for. I gave some advice to one of my friends who does some work on my show, and Ben Duthie. He's fresh out of college. We had a really great conversation. He's like, Lyndsay, what advice do you give me, as a new college graduate? And I said, always have a side hustle. What are you really good at? I said, you're probably really good at video editing because you were born with this technology brain, unlike me. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm really good at it. He's like, can I work on your show? I said, yes, and I will pimp you out to everyone I know. And I have,
Mhm.
and the work he's created is beautiful, and he's going to be busier than he knows what to do with. But that no one was giving him that advice. So
That's
I'm
right.
going to give him the advice to start the LLC, though, because I think
Yes.
really
Yes.
important.
So he can write off all of his expenses. He can write off all his software, all his
Yes.
tools, his
Yes.
computer, all of that.
So good. So good. Okay, so hold that thought. We're
Okay.
going to come back in 30 seconds, and I have some more questions for you that everybody that watches this show loves to hear the answers to. So sit
Okay.
tight. If you like the stories you hear every week on this show, guess what? I have hundreds more from my nearly 30 years in the leadership trenches. And I don't just talk about building irresistible culture, I do it. You can bring me into Keynote, moderate your panels, or work directly with your leaders to drive material change. So let's roll up our sleeves, go out to heartbeatforhire.com, Let's connect and let's make some magic happen. Go lead with heart. Mo. So
Yes.
this is one of my favorite parts of the show. What inspires you?
That satisfaction on the other side of seeing the business owner be able to finally live out their dream.
Mm,
That inspires me. That's like that moment that I wish that someone had given me the advice and know-how that I give my clients.
yeah.
To see a lot of our clients are single parents. So to see a single parent who has struggled for the past 10, 15 years
Yeah.
and be able to finally say, hey, I have $100,000 in my account and I know what to do with it. And seeing them execute, like Lyndsay, that's it brings me to tears every single
I love
time
that. I
because
love
I'm like, wow, you just broke a sequence in your generations that you just achieved something that no one else has been able to achieve. You
Yeah.
just showed your kids what was possible.
Yeah, I love that. You know what I love about you? I think finance can be really intimidating, and they've made the language difficult to follow. They've made, really it's its own ecosystem that you have to kind of dive into really deeply to fully understand. And you've made it really accessible and really easy to understand. And I think we need more of that. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And
Yeah,
it,
of
and it
course.
came from, remember, I told you, I'm a college dropout.
Hmm.
So because I'm a college dropout, I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm very smart, very intelligent, but I need to speak to other people who decided, like myself,
Yeah.
that I didn't want to speak in 10,000 word, $10,000 word language. So
Yes.
how do I break this down so that other people have access to this
Yeah.
information? But also so that they can teach it to someone else.
Yeah.
Because if I'm using $10,000 sentences, then someone else is not going to be able to articulate that to someone else, so that we can each one teach one, right? So we need to keep this thing going. And I love listening to podcasts like yours because the exchange of information is so valuable,
Yeah.
right? You found a way to captivate your audience and they pay attention to you. So
Hmm.
because they pay attention to you, you've been able to lay out and have all these great guests come on and lay out information in plain English
Yeah.
where it's just so easy to transfer this information. And
Oh,
transfer of information equals transfer of wealth.
that's right. I mean, if I don't understand it, my viewers aren't going to understand it either. So,
That's right.
okay. So, what would you like your legacy to be?
I want people to say, Mo got me the money for my business.
Hmm.
Yeah, 10 years ago when I met Mo, she got me the money for my business.
I love that.
And that's huge for me.
Yeah.
And it's because when I started, I didn't have shit. Like my credit score was like 400 something.
Mhm.
I'm in my grandma's house. I'm sleeping on the bed that I was sleeping on when I was a kid. My feet hang, I'm 6 feet tall. My feet are hanging off the bed and shit. Like it was terrible, right? Credit score is all jacked up. Couldn't even get my dad to co-sign on a vehicle for me.
Hmm.
And I watched both of my parents work and side hustle until they were forced in retirement.
Yeah.
And then they passed away. So they didn't get a chance to enjoy it. So I want the biggest thing to be where my clients look back and they say, well, help me start my business. But that was also the beginning of my life
Yes. Yes.
because
I
you
mean,
get to
guys, what is it all
experience
worth?
it.
If
Exactly.
you grind and grind and make all this money, you can't take it with you.
You
I mean,
can't.
I think I saw three different posts this week from women who were hospitalized from burnout.
Hmm.
They hustled so hard and they didn't listen to their bodies and they didn't stop to breathe, to enjoy. Life is meant to be lived and
That's right.
enjoyed. You you have to give to yourself, you have to take care of yourself. And,
That's
it's
it.
really I'm sorry about your parents because that's a really big heartache to lose them and know they didn't get to realize all the good they did.
Absolutely. But that was also my biggest blessing.
Yeah.
Because now I know that they don't have to go through this shit. Like they don't have to go through anything that we're having to deal with right now.
Nope.
But also what they put into me is a work ethic
Mhm.
so that, yeah, I'll work hard.
Yeah.
But seeing them not get to enjoy the fruits of the labor
Mhm.
made me see what I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to work until my expiration date,
That's
right? So now it's like, okay, I don't mind putting in the work, but playtime is going to be soon.
Well,
You
and
know,
you also have a good balance. You have a good amount of play and a good amount of work. And to me, my perspective, you tell me if I'm right, work doesn't feel like work because you
yeah,
love it so much.
yeah.
So if you're doing it right, you don't need to go retire is not, I'm going to go sit in a lazy boy for the rest of my days.
No, I'm gonna do
Retire
that in a little while anyway.
But retirement is I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor, work a little less, travel a little more, see more friends, see more family, whatever it is you love to do. But it's more balanced. That's what retirement is, at least to me. I think this
Absolutely.
American idea of I can't wait to get to the finish line so I can stop. That's why Americans are dying so early.
They
Like they're
are.
not staying active. So,
They are.
okay,
They
so
are.
what's next for Mo?
So next is after the full recovery from this knee replacement, close to 5 weeks out from tomorrow will be 5 weeks out from a knee replacement. So after that, then we will be going on just a tour for where our clients are, visiting them, visiting their businesses, seeing exactly what they have going on, just really getting more hands-on with clients, but also getting outside more, Lyndsay, to more events. I
Mhm.
first started my sales career in network marketing.
Mhm.
So I love reaching out and touching people.
Mhm.
So just looking forward to more traveling and just helping more entrepreneurs do this themselves. We've been getting our clients funding for a few years now. But now we're moving into more of teaching our clients how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And this is going to allow them to teach someone else how to do it themselves versus like, okay, we'll take it on the labor for it.
Yeah.
So just building more relationships, that's what's next. So we're excited about that. We've got more content now dropping more than ever. I took a lot of your advice from LinkedIn
Yes.
and
Connect with Mo on LinkedIn, guys. She's growing there. She's big on Insta, but we're trying to grow her on LinkedIn. And it's
absolutely,
great to see you out
absolutely.
here. It's
So
awesome.
we've taken that and we're just having fun with just like trying things.
Yes.
So business owner, do not be afraid to try things, especially if you get to do it with 0% interest on someone else's dime.
Right?
So just try some shit. And if it doesn't work, then try some more shit and see if it
Uh-huh.
works, right? Because you don't know.
Mm-mm.
So congratulations to that business owner in advance who said, "Well, let me try. Let me try."
Love it. I love it.
You know?
So, Mo, how can people find you?
You can find me at Mo the Closer. That's Moe the Closer on all social media channels. And we are heavy on IG. We have expanded to we're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and LinkedIn. This is the newest
Yes.
adventure we're going on LinkedIn. But we're on all social media channels. So if
I
you if
love
you
it.
drop us a follow, be sure to send me an inbox and say, hey,
You
I
heard
listened
her
to you on
here.
Lizzie. Yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it.
Well, I love having you on. I'm so glad you reached out to me. This
Yes.
has been an absolute delight. Guys, connect with Mo. Please reach out. Tell her you heard her here, and
Yes.
do some good things. Like she said, get your LLC in order. Start to figure out what those services are. That is huge. And if you liked what you heard, continue to support the show on YouTube and all the social channels. I will be right back with an audience question in just a moment. So, Mo, thank you. You've been a pleasure. Today's question is a tough one. The question is, I've never fired anyone. What are some tips? So, the first thing you've got to think about if you have to fire someone, which is always an unfortunate thing, is you need to start to document. Document, document, document. Every conversation, your reasoning, your rationale for why you need to fire them. If it is because they are a personality clash with the culture of the company, that is different than if they're not performing. If it's a personality clash, you got to be really, really careful and thoughtful, and you have to work with your HR partner. Ideally, your HR partner is a partner and not just set up to only be reactive, but you want them to know what your concerns are. If it's performance, obviously, if you're in sales, you can put them on a performance improvement plan or a PIP. But if it's not a sales role and they're just not performing or they're not showing up or they're falling down in some way, shape, or form, you have to at least give an opportunity for coaching first. You have to allow them to do better. You have to teach them, and you have to lead with heart. You have to say, these are some things that I would do, or these are some things that are working well for other people on the team. When you demonstrate those things and you've documented that you've demonstrated those things and things are still not working, then you have a case and you can go back to those conversations and say, hey, 3 months ago, we talked about this. You said you were going to implement those changes, yet I didn't see it happen. Can you explain why? Or is this still a struggle? And 9 times out of 10, if you've been talking through those issues, they already know. Now, there is a really big difference in micromanagement versus leading with heart. Micromanagement, we all have been there. We've had those bosses who, put you in the corner, say, do it this way. I want to know every single detail of every conversation you're having. And no person will thrive under micromanagement. I don't recommend that you should start micromanaging this person. I do recommend that you should set up some regular reporting that they need to follow through on so you can say, okay, you've done these things or you haven't done these things. Give them the space to do the job they were hired for. And if they cannot perform, then you have enough to talk to them and say, I don't think this is the right job for you. But when all is said and done, just remember to be human. It could be an uncomfortable situation, but when you do these things with kindness and when you can say really clearly what your vision for the team is, what your goals are, they will know that they're not hitting those goals. But don't forget, you are a leader, and when you become a leader, you become the topic of everyone's dinner conversation. You are going to have difficult conversations as a leader. That's just the nature of the job. But how you choose to conduct yourself through those conversations really does matter. And many people that I've had to let go over the years, we're still friends to this day because I held myself with some decorum. I treated them with kindness. I treated them as human beings. They knew they couldn't meet the requirements of the role. So it wasn't that hard of a conversation. I hope that helps. Lead with heart. Have a great day. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for listening to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or consider leaving a 5-star review and a great rating at Spotify or Apple. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.